Well, hello, boys and girls.
Hi.
What a wonderful day it is today in our money-based economy. Well, sit back and relax and get ready for the guy who's about to ruin everything.
I'm puzzled. Are you really seriously suggesting that Jesus Christ was a mushroom?
Wayne, Jesus was a mushroom Roberts.
Yes. You are dealing with a secret cult, a secret society.
Welcome to Waning Interest.
Welcome to the Waning Interest Podcast, hour number 28. June 12th, 2019, Unlocked Wednesday. This one's going out all over the world, and not just in my little vacuum at Patreon, like the Monday and Friday hours. This one goes booming out to everybody, so I can truly make an ass out of myself. And that's why we call ourselves the smallest click on the internet. See, the way I look at podcast listeners, I kind of use the theory, not the theory, but I use for an outline, for an inspiration, for numbers. I go with golf. Lowest number better. And if there's anyone that can take anything into the negative, you found it. I referred to myself as an it. See? Already on the right track. Boy, we're killing it already, aren't we? Some of you are maybe tuning in for the first time. Tuning in. Pushing play. And wondering, wait, what the fuck was all that Jesus mushroom shit about? And what about that money-based society and guy gonna ruin it all? What is this shit? I need to know. That's what you're saying to yourself. All -4 of you. Well, it all started when apparently now, this is alleged, I'm just spewing back what I read, but we don't like to call them aliens, apparently, where all this information comes, where they would prefer just beings. Because it turns out they're not really alien. All this stuff that that everybody's talking about when they use that word. Because it really doesn't make sense, because it's not. Because when you really meet those aliens, it's because you're tripping balls, and the DMT crystals in your pineal gland are kicking hardcore. And you realize everything is familiar, and it feels like everything that's weird, it's still familiar, like you've been there before, which would mean it's not alien. Even though they look weird and it's really vivid when you're on DMT or, like for me on mushrooms, it's like, I've said this before, it's like the Smurfs or leprechauns or what's that other one? There was some other. Anyway, it's like they're giggling on my shoulder. And I can, like, see a shadow in my peripheral vision. Like these little shadows, that's all I can see. And as more I turn my head closer to them, the more they disappear or go behind me. And it's fucking fun. The elves, the Smurfs, the Oompa Loompas, what the fuck are the little people in The Wizard of Oz? I forgot. They probably prefer little people, right? At this point, the Munchkins. I really think we should go back to Munchkin. I think we should just stick with Munchkin. Right? It's just so much easier off the tongue. Little people, little people, that's for kids. So to me, calling like Brad Williams or Peter Dinklage a little person, they're not a child. Like if I'm talking about like a buddy of mine's son or a nephew or something like that, someone, a teenager or younger, I refer to them as little man. So little people, so they're not really little people. See, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And that's what this podcast is all about. And again, why we're the smallest click on the internet. But the psychedelic stuff, you end up realizing that it's a way to, as E.T. would put it, phone home. A way to phone home, which is, to me, if you've never heard this podcast before, another reason it's the smallest click on the internet is because I believe the movie E.T. is about mushrooms and DMT. To go straight to the part of phoning home, E.T. died, they think. And when he comes back, what's the first thing he says? E.T. phone home. So he wasn't really dead, but everybody thought he was dead. And that's ego death. And that's what happens when you trip, which is why you feel the oneness, and then everything feels familiar, and then in turn kind of tells you that there's no such thing as death. And it has all these wonderful properties, or all these things that it does for you. Opens you up, expands your mind, obviously, it kills your ego. It helps to kill the ego. It helps to kill depression. Or suppressive depression. There's plenty of studies. You can look for yourself. But with all that, you take the attributes of the mushroom and you line them up with the religious stuff of the world, all the books. First off, there's mushrooms through every book. The red fungus or the manna or there's other things that it's referred to as, but the red fungus is basically in every single big book. And the attributes of that correlate with, quote-unquote, gods. For instance, we now have the virgin birth, and anyone with that are considered, normal thinkers, normal people that don't have things crossed in their brain or whatever, that are have them challenged or whatever, that are thought, but even them, they still think, ask questions. How do you get a virgin birth when that's humans? How do you get that? Everybody asks that question. Well, spores need no seed. And that's my phone. Obviously, somebody forgot to take it off of the vibrating, which I normally do. I have that thing on quiet all the time. I cannot stand. Damn it. So you could take the next step of the Jesus story, and you have he was born in a manger. Could it have been a pile of cow dung? Especially seeing how mushrooms, that's where mushrooms come from, and then in everywhere, a bunch of other religions, cows are holy. I'm not saying that, offshoots of other religions, but, Hindus starts there. But cows are holy. Why? Because this gateway comes out of their butt? Not to make it sound, that's not to be, and please, if you are I'm usually a funny person. I'll try to prove it at some point. But I got off on this realization of, we have that open, and I never really actually talk about this very much. I only spend 5 to 10 minutes every other hour, maybe. I don't really talk about the Jesus mushroom stuff or money on this long usually. Or, again, you call yourself a broadcaster? I know. It bothers me too. But I don't normally go into it too deep, and I am nowhere near an expert or whatever, but it doesn't take an expert, I don't think, to put the two together and be like Mikey from the Goonies and go, hey, guys, look, there's a reason they were called the Goonies. I'm not sure why, but maybe it was a lagoon, or was it just Goonie because you're Goonie, like a nerd thing? I don't even remember, and it's one of my favorites. How crazy is that? What does Goonies mean? Let's look that up. Holy shit, this hour is not going the way I was planning on it, but that's usually a good thing. So there, you're winning. Did I tell you this is the smallest click on the internet? The Goonies meaning. Let's do that. How's that meaning? Yeah, what does the Goonies mean? Any of several albatrosses, especially the black-footed albatross, Diomedea nigrips, I had to be careful with that, and the Laysan albatross that dwell primarily on islands in the Pacific Ocean, often near naval bases. Or, that's the noun. I should have just gone for slang. A foolish, silly, or awkward person. There you have it. I knew that. I more put it towards the nerdy, goofy thing, but I was wrong. But close enough. Would I have gotten the point on the Schmodown? Probably not. Movie Trivia Schmodown. If you don't watch that, it's on YouTube. It's really fun. It's Christian Harloff, Mark Ellis, and many others. And it's a movie trivia thing where they combine it with wrestling, bullshit fighting stuff, but not physical stuff. It's all just, like infighting of teams and managers and all this stuff. It's really cool. So you should check it out, Schmodown. If you don't already know about it and aren't a fan already, be a Schmodown fan. Check it out. It's fun if you like movies. But again, I don't really talk about it much, and boy, first 14 minutes, and whoo, that's all it is. When does this get fun, you asshole? I know, I'm trying. Well, you got the mushroom, and we're still trying to get it to the Jesus thing as quick as we can. So eat of me, eat of my body. What would you do? Yeah, mushrooms are fleshy, so eat the mushroom. You're talking to God. Or the universe, whatever you want to call it. You're connecting. You're phoning home. Turns water into wine. You let the mushroom grow out into a chalice. Drink any water that collects that's been sitting in that, and it'll have a little extracurriculars in it, if you will. Same thing. Bang. Shaking hands with the universe. And it just goes on and on with these things that correlate and the way that mushrooms can help save the world and the way that mushrooms help the world even be, because we don't talk about that. We just talk about the dirt, the flowers, the grass, and the trees and other plants, but we don't talk about what's in that soil, which is the mycelium network, which I do have mentioned here and there, and that's getting a little boring now. But it is, as above, so below. It's got all these, and I'm not a religious person, don't take that. And I'm also not shitting on religion. I'm just going with all these questions. I'm just one of those that came to this conclusion going, wait, put the, what? And one of the main things where you can really connect to it and go really help it solidify is, John Marco Allegro being one of those people that transcribed the Dead Sea Scrolls and said it was right in there, easy to spy, because he could translate whatever. Was he joking? I don't think so. Why would you want to have your career ruined like that? Why would you want people calling people your name, calling you people? He was a Goonie. Simple as that. And when all these other parts of the money, why don't you go to Google right now as you're listening, if you can. If you're there and you're not driving, go to Google as you're listening, if you're able to, and type in Pope clothing. Here, I'll go along with you. Google Pope clothing. And go to images, of course. Now, tell me that's not mushroom-ish. Most of the stuff that you see, almost everything. I'm not talking about the hat. The hat, I know that one, but I've sort of forgotten because I never really did all the other stuff that I have centered on all these years. The funny fishy hat or whatever I can't remember, trying to think of the name of what it's called. Even I'm sitting here looking at it and looking on the internet, and I still can't come up with it because I'm looking and I don't want to go with who cares? Mitre? No, whatever. But either way, it's either red or gold. His clothing. Mushrooms sometimes pop up golden. Easter eggs. The Easter eggs, that's not what it was. They weren't, what Easter eggs really are mushrooms. Picking them from underneath the pine trees. And the Christmas correlation, the whole thing. And, when they say Jesus died for me, I think now, yeah, so I could chew his ass up and shake hands with the universe/God and see that there's no such thing as death. Right? Right. Now, I don't know why anybody would be mad at me saying that, especially when I'm not saying it to be nasty. It's almost so obvious. At the Vatican, there's 2 pine cone. There's 2 giant mushroom fountains. There's a pine cone statue. Why pine cone statue? What's that for? Well, it represents the pineal gland, your third eye, which is cleaned off by the mushroom so you can shake hands with the universe. It just goes on and on. And on. And on some more. And who got hung on the cross? People who say that shit. But really, no. In the story, he got hung. Why? Because the money. The money changers. He was mad that they were doing the original fractional reserve banking. So, obviously, and I hate money, and I want money to go. We can live off of tech, and that way nobody has this power that they don't fucking deserve, and then there would be much, much, much less crime, because it would be a world of abundance where everybody has access to everything, like 3D printers in every fucking home, and every home being sustainable to itself and using the shit and the piss for other energy sources to run the fucking thing, along with solar and other things that are really simple, so we don't have to have, all that shit we could be doing. Jesus didn't like money. I don't like money. So you can't say that I'm saying that I don't like Jesus, because I obviously do. Relieves depression. Anyone tripping balls sounds like Jesus. So my point to everybody is obviously the Bible should be taught in science class. Now you're talking. No, you're not talking. I'm talking. Who's talking? You're talking. You're talking. I'm talking. No, I'm talking. I'm talking. Stop it. You're listening to someone who used to call the Bible the first National Enquirer. And there was a point where I heard some people who kind of agreed with me, but sort of tried to, in a nice way, hey, whoa, yeah, it's maybe a little more nuance. Yeah, but slowly I would come to and yeah, like I was taught once. What is it? Not that it was real. I was just using it as a analogy. Hey, instead of was it sugar? Attracts more or whatever. But they were saying shake hands instead of throwing balls at their head. Oh, yeah. So obviously, this is recorded. You can stop, go back. Am I throwing balls at heads? No. I'm shaking hands and going. You just gotta look, and it makes sense. And it definitely doesn't make sense to people who've never tripped. And there's a lot of people that haven't tripped, who have taken mushrooms before but haven't really tripped. There's a lot of people out there that say they've done mushrooms and haven't really done mushrooms. If you've only done a couple of, and I'm not telling you to go out there and do it, you do your fucking homework first. Harm reduction is what I'm about first. There's other things. Everybody's a little different with the brain, especially if you're schizophrenic. Don't do that. But this weekend is Shroom Fest. Ask Ari Shafir. You can do it anywhere if you want, from anywhere, and see the connection that maybe you'll it's if you can, and if you have imbibed before and you understand, I would seriously look into Shroom Fest this weekend. But what it does, it shows you. It's one of those experience things. You're not going to know it until you experience it. And maybe that's what they're saying, that's what it really means when the non-believers are the people that don't believe what I'm saying. See what I'm saying? I see what you're saying. Thank you. I see what he's saying. The Pope dresses like a mushroom. So they stole that shit from the original thing, but that's a little explanation. That's 23 minutes for you if you've never heard the podcast before, or if you have and you wanted a recap. That's what that means in the open that Mr. Joe Cruz said about me. Jesus was the mushroom, Roberts. He does the open. If you've heard any of the promos, he's on the front and the ass end of the promos. Joe Cruz, his link should be right there in the description. If you're listening on Patreon, it's right there on the home Patreon page at the bottom. Of course it's at the bottom. It's Joe. I mean the bottom of the summary right there. It's on the home page. You can see it loud and clear. I'm moving on. Waning Interest Podcast at gmail.com. is the email. They're getting cleaner and cleaner. I'll say weekly. I'm being very nice, but there is, if you pay attention, you can see. But the emails are getting very clean. They're cleaning up. Apparently, the listenership coming in is a little more highbrow, or a little more higher than lowbrow. I don't know. I don't care. I'm guessing that they're all lowbrow because it's me. Why wouldn't I attract that type? Of course the crazy is going to attract the crazies. That's how it works, right? Right. Thanks. So, again, if you're new, Wednesdays go up on YouTube, TuneIn, Google Play, Laughable, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, all those places and all the subs. But I also do a Monday and a Friday hour on Patreon. different stories. Definitely don't go on and on like this about this, but it's been somewhat entertaining and educational, so I'm going to stick with it. But now, moving on. Oh, but the Patreon thing. $2 a month? I'm a cheap fuck. $2 a month? $24 a year? You pay $25 just to go see one really good comedy show for 1 hour or an hour and a half. You get a whole motherfucking year? 3 hours a week? Sometimes bonus hours. Or half hours, which I call ishes. That's a deal. As my mom would say, that's a bargain. And it's all about my people's power. I am anti-corporate, hate money, so I don't want to take money from places and, but there might be a few, who knows, Speedweed might end up being a sponsor. I don't know. Did I just let the bag out of the cat? Whoops. No, that's just a little hint to Gino. Hey, man, let's pick this shit up, you know what I'm saying? Because podcasts, as I've said before, are like items being taken and dropped off at the Goodwill. People take them and then go make profit while the podcast, what do they get? Free content. And then go make profit. While we sit here and go, what the fuck? Especially me, because I'm an asshole that doesn't want sponsors. Maybe one or two. Twitter and Instagram, Wayne Roberts 811. You can keep up with shows and other shows that I might not even be a part of, but I still share friends' stuff, like Sam Tripoli's Comedy Chaos tonight at the Comedy Store. Just came back from that. First show. Woo! Kate Quigley, George Perez, Steve Ranazizi. Oh, he destroyed. I can't remember the name of the dude the Middle Eastern dude. He murdered for 5 minutes. He had one of those long ZZ Top beards. Damn it, what's his name? Either way, but they closed and Sam, of course, starting the whole thing as the host, just destroyed the room. And then to finish it off, Joey Coco Diaz. Woo-hoo-hoo! That was quite a show. Now, see, that's the kind of show, that's the kind of bam, bam, bam that you're going to get Thursday night with my show at the Dojo at 8 p.m. at the Sycamore Tavern. Atop the Sycamore Tavern, this gorgeous room to do comedy in that Sam Tripoli and Trevor Kevelo and other folks put together. And it's a really killer room. Jimmy Dore does shows there. Many people do shows there. And it's right down the street from the Comedy Store. It's like 80 seats, I think. The bar upstairs, you don't have to worry about the downstairs bar. There's a bar right there upstairs. And it's a good room. $10. What? Jimmy Schubert, Sam Tripoli, Erica Rhodes, Felicia Michaels, and we might, actually, this might be it. We might have a surprise pop-in. Shit, that's not what that was. The bogus Instagram message. I was hoping it was from like I said, I want it to be a surprise. Ian Edwards. Want to squeeze him in there. But it's going to be a hellified show. And what else should I plug? Conspiracies Now, Sam's show on Patreon. Well, sometimes what we've been doing is we started doing 2 every Wednesday, which is now going to be Thursday nights. We do 2 hours, 2 different guests. I'm the announcer, and then sometimes pop in and babble about shit. Usually Jesus was a mushroom or Charles Manson stuff. Anyway, one of those hours will go, he puts them on his Patreon, and the other hour goes on his YouTube. Which one? I don't know. That's his whole thing. But there's something you can catch me on if you're looking for more Wayne. I can hear the scoffing. Thanks. Rude. And I'm supposed to be doing some time at the Rec Room on July 6th with Sam, Eddie Bravo. Oh, Eddie was on tonight, too. Killed. People fucking love Eddie Bravo. Wow. And dude can do anything. He's a fucking freight train. He can fucking kill you like that. He can destroy a room doing stand-up comedy. He's seemingly the most everybody's favorite podcast guest, especially on Rogan, of course. Dude, music, where it all started. This fucking guy's a freight train. It's incredible. But anyway, so XG will be with Sam and Eddie at the Rec Room, Huntington Beach, July 6th. And I'm supposedly going to do a few minutes myself. So that is going to be fun. It's not going to be as fun as Thursday because, that is really crushing it. Jesus Christ. You hear what I'm saying? Felicia Michaels, Erica fucking Rhodes, Jimmy fucking Schubert, and Sam. Sam is like a dirtier. He's like Jimmy's dirty nephew. Jimmy's a bit cleaner, crusher. Sam is a crusher, but it's like his nephew. Because he's got that dirt. Like how I would say with back in radio, where there was the radio show, one of the radio shows I used to work with, Rick and Suds, and I would tell people for what I wanted to do in radio, I just wanted to be a young, dirty Suds. Suds was the funny sidekick, but he was clean, but still, whenever he popped off, he made people swerve off the road. And I would just say, I want to be a young, dirty Suds. And then I'll have to, that's right, I'm going to save that for one of the other radio stories. I might have already told it, I don't know. All this, thinking, it's got me fucked up. Oh, whips. Hashtag WIPP, capital all 4. Wait, start over. Take 2. Hashtag, all caps, WIPP, little s. Or hashtag Waning Interest Podcast Pack. Or hashtag Waning Interest Podcast. Let's get that going on Twitter. I'm using it for the little promos that I put up on Twitter and Instagram. So, let's get that shit cranking. That's all I'm saying, And now it's time for the Wednesday joke. A little humor from the past. Like the earliest shit I wrote before stepping up at open mics until I got to doing my actual first show or whatever. But this is the earliest stuff. So, it's bad on purpose, if you will. I mean, it wasn't bad on purpose then, but now it's bad on purpose. So I'm not giving you a joke that is, formed and shaped by Dave Attell or Doug Stanhope or Bill Burr. I'm giving you open mic shit. Which here is funnier. See? This fucking thinking. Remember, this has been, what was the date on that thing I saw? Somewhere, I think it was June 2014. It's just so embarrassing, you know? To you? Shut up. I grew up around horses and other animals, but I don't want to talk about my family. Except my dad. Coolest goober ever. Looks like Bill Lumbergh from Office Space, but talks like Richard Pryor. It's like a blind man eating said banana and saying, "Funny, this doesn't taste yellow." He takes pride in his eloquent vernacular, the only white dude I know that can make the N-word sound like Shakespeare. And he's got his own scientific terminology for the human anatomy. From the Book of Larry, or what I like to affectionately call Larinese. I like the name because it brings the Middle East to mind. Your nose is your sniffer, your mouth is your suck, your legs are your chalky stockies. For crackers only, of course. Imagine my first kindergarten when little Wayne had to use the restroom and told the teacher that a gopher was peeking from his turd cutter. Thanks, Dad. And there's another Wednesday joke here on the Waiting Interest Podcast. Right here, right square. Smallest click on the internet. Now, it was funny when I found this, when I was going through all that garbage that I've written, that older stuff that has taken on different forms. Like some of this actually has gone on to be things that was, that's how it works. But I just, in the last hour, I don't remember why, but in the last hour I talked about chalky stockies in my dad's vernacular, his terminology for the human anatomy. I have a feeling that some people are going to find those things familiar and go, I know where that's from. And email, hopefully you will. Because I want to know where it's from. I want to know if my dad stole that shit. No, he didn't steal it. Some of it comes from other things, but him and his friends all made a lot of this shit up. Like, my Peebles. That's where my Peebles power comes from. My dad and his buddy Benny going, messing with my Peebles. If they were there and they're drinking, partying, and one of their friends is getting their balls busted, they would be chuckling, and they would look at the person busting the balls, and they go, "You be messing with my Peebles." Now, like I said, he looked like fucking Bill Lumbergh from Office Space. He really did at the time. He had the button-up shirt with the short sleeves and the tie, and his glasses, but he sounded like, "Get off my foot." He sounded like Pryor. It was his favorite thing. And then when I got older and I heard the Long Beach Richard Pryor, or watched the Richard Pryor, the one from Long Beach, where I went, oh, that's where a lot of my dad's shit came from. I mean, his just little tiny things, which I already knew. I knew it was Pryor stuff. But I went, oh, there's a whole bunch of it right here in this fucking special. But, yeah. And his buddy, Benny, who would do the messing with my people stuff with him, was a black man. Dude looked like Roger E. Mosley. TC from Magnum P.I. Not the new whatever that is, the Tom Selleck version. Roger E. Mosley. Benny looked like his twin brother. And as a little kid, I'd just be looking up at him, just laughing, because that's all he did was make you laugh. He was so fucking funny, and my dad. But at the same time, as I'm laughing, I'm going, he's making me laugh to distract me from knowing that it's really Roger E. Mosley, because that's what really is funny, is because I'm the butt of the joke, because I'm really get to stand here and, my dad's really best friends with Roger E. Mosley, but they're not really telling. That was going through my head. Not really, but kind of. It certainly wasn't formed that well. You know why? Hadn't done psychedelics yet. Or cocaine. Still haven't done that. I wish I was telling the truth there. But I was telling the chalky stocky thing, because the anatomy, the whole... Your fingers are your pointers, your hands are your arms or your arms are your beaters. Your ears are your speakers, your nose is your sniffer, your teeth are your choppers, your mouth is your suck, your eyes are your lookers, your nose is your sniffer, and your legs are your chalky stockies. What are the feet? Can't remember the feet. But obviously your butt is your turd cutter. So I've explained that twice in 2 straight hours, but that kind of mean. But anyway, that's one of the reasons when I found the joke, I went, oh, because I had talked about it before. So for the new ones, and then for the old ones, and then this and that, and then I put it all together, and here we are. You're fucking crazy. I know. And I'm letting you laugh at it. Helping you laugh at it. I have self-awareness. Again, psychedelics. I know I'm a babbling douchebag. But if you can set aside the babbling and the douchebag part and then see what am I really saying, you'll go, why is it that every time I go to Wayne when he says something, and then like 3-4 years later, it's like mainstream and I'm totally cool with it? Why am I still going after 17 examples of I'm still going when I continually go So let's keep it more about the and no more or whichever. It's hard as spitting on my screen. Some crazy ass shit. Boy! Oh man, chalky stockies. And that's what I have. Maybe that's why I was talking about it last hour, because I went out in public. It's gotten all of a sudden finally really warm in the last couple days. And I went outside in a pair of shorts, even though I wear them around the apartment, but I don't have lights on and I like to keep it cool, and so I'm not really noticing my skin color being more translucent as much. When you get out into the sun, it's like, oh, I got chalky stockies. I got chalky stockies. So who wants to come for a pool party? Pool/tanning party. I'm a great grill man. You know why? Because I no longer drink. You would think, well, you smoke weed and you eat weed, so you might not be that good of a cook because you might be forgetful. So you might not be that good of a cook because you might be forgetful. What? So that really isn't it. You actually do focus when you're doing something more fun, and when you are stoned and cooking, it is the greatest, especially from the smells. You have the anticipation of, wow, my hunger is really kicking into high gear. That's meaning that anything I put in my mouth is going to taste stupendous. So you've got that anticipation, kind of like doing cocaine. Anyway, then you have, it's just more fun. Then you have the smells, which are going to be enhanced a little more because of the weed, because of the hunger, because of the, oh, this is going to be so good. And then the doing of it and the satisfaction, because satisfaction is even better when you're high. Who would not think that? So, you're paying attention and you're making sure that goddamn meat doesn't get goddamn burnt. Which means that you're probably smart enough when if you have a grill, you don't put it on the porch that doesn't have a light so you can't see it. And you cook chicken and then it turns out, and when people bite into it, it's like, what's her name's turkey in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where it just goes, poof, like, what the fuck? Yeah, it got overcooked. But that was because there was no light. And at the time, was I smoking cannabis? Get rid of saying that M word, please. Thank you. Come along with me with that, because that's a bad word. Yes, cannabis was involved. But you know what else was involved? When I did that to that chicken on that grill that one night on that porch with no light, totally didn't mean to rhyme there, but fuck, that's a good riff. Alcohol. Alcohol, specifically, if I remember correctly, Coors Light. This is not a plug for Coors Light. This is just telling you that that's my dad's beer. My dad going so far as to change the name of a song. No, that's not the OJ's. That's the Coors Light song. You know the train, you know.
Get on the love train, love train.
But when it would come on TV, we're watching a football game, watching whatever, sitting there, and ooh, it's the Coors Light song. Like, no, that's, you just took a shit in the OJ's face. That's not what they called it. But you know what? The OJ's maybe, wait, first, let's figure out who owns the song. Maybe the OJ's don't even fucking own the song anymore, so maybe we can't blame them. Maybe they're not the one that threw it out to make money doing it, being whores with commercials. So, but if they were, maybe they do deserve the shit in the face.
Get on the love train.
Maybe they do deserve it to be called the Coors Light song now because they sold the fucking thing. So maybe, as usual, just like me, because that's where I get it from, the whole time, my fucking dad was right. See?
Get on the love train, love train.
Man, these revelations. That really sounded religious. Man, these things that pop into your head and you realize he was right. And that I obviously know it in some way because I'm turning into him and wanting to. You know, a lot of guys are like, I don't want to be my dad. I don't want to be my mom. I realized I do want to be my dad. Take away some of the hardcore stuff that he's unfortunately been involved with, meaning he's a Vietnam vet, and some other choices that I've made bad choices myself. But so take away his darker ones, put that aside, and just made to where he just went, well, no more of this, no more of that. Just kind of, I'd just rather be home and become the hermit sort of thing. I started following him on that a long time ago. The only difference is I don't drink. As far as I know right now, wait. Nah, it's in the middle of the night. He doesn't have a beer in his hand right now. I could be wrong.
Get on the love train, love train.
No, he doesn't. But he was right, yeah. I was just upset. I was like, Dad, what are you doing? Come on, that's insulting to the OJs. And then I realized, well, what am I saying? I hate advertising. Even though I do voiceover, I fucking hate it. Got to make money somehow. And I'm not saying that like I book. I don't book a whole lot. I'm not saying it like I'm some big voice guy. I'm a voice guy. I ain't big. It's the hating of money manifesting itself. I'm the king, no, prince. I'm one of, there's many of us. I'm one of those princes of second place. And that's why, one reason why UBI is a good idea, because people do a lot of stuff and work on things, basically end up being for free. I'm into UBI, did I tell you that? But that's just one real quick one. You know, everybody's and doing the things that they really want to do, and they put a lot of stuff in it, and they don't get paid for it, but they're still doing a ton of work, and they don't make any money for the longest time. So that's another reason why UBI is a good idea, so people can continue to do that and not have to compromise with a whole lot of shit. And UBI is a way to transition out of money altogether. But let's get back. Let's bring it on back to my dad being correct. The OJ sold the shit, or whoever owned it sold the shit. So fuck them, whore. Just like Bill Hicks said. Do a commercial. Now, he did say, if you're a young actor or somebody that doesn't book much, I'll look the other way, like me. But if you're famous, you do a commercial, you're off the artistic roll call. You're off the artistic roll call forever. So, that's one reason why the Doors are still the shit when it comes to bands, because they still have not sold their shit. They did that one time, but they pulled it because Jim threw his fit, and haha. That's why when you walk into my home, into the Waning Interest Podcast headquarters, first thing you see, Mr. Morrison. Hold the flame, wanting you to take it and go do your thing. I don't know what that means. I just made that shit up. Are you ready for the Wednesday radio story? Did you hear the jingle? Oh, there isn't one. So, I mentioned Rick and Suds earlier. They were the morning show, the radio station that I cut my teeth on, WIOD, starting in 1994. They were the morning show. They weren't Stern, they weren't Ron and Ron, but they were still really fun. And like I said, Suds would always dropping bombs, great bombs. Rick did most of the talking, and they had callers that were funny and the characters, other people that were funny on the show. Anyway, they were the morning show. Neil Rogers was the midday. Basically owned Miami radio for 30 years. Killer. AM radio, too, and had the biggest numbers. And then there was Phil Hendry, which most of you guys know from either KFI or one other radio station that you might, when he was syndicated on Premiere, or now the other one that he's syndicated on, I don't know what's going on. Maybe now it's just him. I don't know, but you might know Phil Hendry. Back in the day, before he went big, right before he went big, the radio station where he really started to blow up was WIOD, where I was lucky enough to work with him. So we get sold. And little do we know, well, Neil kind of said some things while it was happening, and other people sort of knew, but I wasn't sure. I'm just a baby. I'm cutting my teeth. This is just a pacifier in my mouth. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Just like, do I have a job? And I'm loyal to the station. They knew that. But I don't know. Just want to know what's going on here with this. And what it turned out that they were doing, and it seemed to be true, they were destroying the radio station on purpose, the people that bought it, so they could make it into their own, and they really fucked it up. First, they sold everything, and we didn't get Phil. That's how Phil ended up out here and onto Premier Radio Networks and all that stuff. So now it's just Rick and Suds and Neil are our biggest shows. And they bring in another show that's, Wait, that's before. I'm jumping ahead. Ron and Ron had been off the air in Miami for a little bit, still in Tampa and other places, but Miami hadn't been on for a while. Well, we lose Phil, so Rick and Suds went to afternoons, Ron and Ron in the morning, and then they killed Ron and Ron. They got rid of Neil. They fucked him over. He went, fuck you. Well, they tried to fuck him over. He said, fuck this. I ain't taking this. No more new contract? No. So all we had was Rick and Suds. And then we had all these other people that they were bringing in, these people that did not belong on the air. It was like a scab sort of thing. It was like watching the XFL. And this one guy named Scoot, they made me his producer, but he didn't want me to do anything but answer the phones. He didn't want any input with show prep, nothing. He wanted nothing but just me to answer the phones and run the board. This guy was fucking awful. He was a liner card reader. South Florida's Coast, 97.3 FM. One of those, doing talk radio. All of his shit, he wrote everything out. This is in the 90s, 1997, 98, 99. He wrote everything out. And then highlight the whole thing. What the fuck you highlighting the whole thing for? You just highlight, look, what the fuck? And he would put them on the board, right across, on top of the board, on the tray there where you put papers, would put all your stuff, all your show prep and all the stuff to read in front of you. It sat over the board. He'd have all that on there, and it was just, I just like, oh my God. And at one point, I just got bored, so bored that I would call a friend and I'd be on the phone on one line while I answered the phones because nobody was calling. The station, the numbers were dropping like a fucking piano out of a 8-story building, and man, that could have been better. It was bad. No calls, really. And all I would do, I would be on the phone with somebody else and just click over when an actual call would come through. Like, yeah. And he ended up seeing that or whatever. Little meeting with me and him and the assistant program director. The assistant program director hated him as much as I did. The assistant program director was actually on my side around it because he knew it didn't really matter and he knew I didn't care and I was going to either leave anyway or I wasn't going to put up with it much more. And we had this little meeting, and this guy, we'll call him Scoot. That's what he called himself, Scoot. Sits there and says to me in front of the assistant program director, knowing how much I hate this guy. And he goes, I need you on my team. And I go, dude, what team? What are you talking about? You don't want me to do anything. You don't want any show prep. You don't want any input. All you want me to do is run the board and answer the phones. That's the team. And I go, no, that's not a team to me. So, whatever, dude. I'll keep doing it. That's fine. Anyway, we did. And at one point, one day during the show, I'm in the control room, and then he got the glass, and then he's in the studio, and he's all getting prepped. Well, Rick, there was an air vent from Rick and Suds. There was a vent that would come down right on top of whoever was at that board in the studio. And he didn't like it, so he would always fuck it, and that ended up screwing up the AC system a bunch. But he'd plug it up. Well, Scoot comes in one day, and it was kind of warm in there, and he's like, oh, and he hits the talkback button. My roommate, who was the producer of another show, was in the control room with me, and he goes, hey, Wayne, Scoot says, hey, Wayne, in the talkback, can you do something with this AC? It's really hot, and there's something that's blocking. David, my roommate and overall producer of all the producers, he goes, I'll do it. He goes into the other room, and I'm watching through the glass. He's behind Scoot, and he gets up on this thing so he can get up to the vent on the ceiling, and he takes out the stuff. Well, the air starts coming through that vent and blows Scoot's papers all over the fucking place. It's like in slow motion for me as I'm watching this because it's a dream come true. David's like up on a ladder sort of thing, like above him. And he's looking at me through the glass going, oh shit. And he's looking down also at Scoot going, scrambling for the fucking papers. And I'm in the other room laughing my fucking ass off because this guy doesn't know what to say, even though he's written it out and he's highlighted the whole fucking thing and spread it out. He's freaking out that if he goes on the air, the open is starting. I had hit, the open for the show had started the clock. I can't stop the clock. And he's doing all that, and David's the look on his face, and this guy, you know what happened? You know what happened? This was the funniest part was the guy went on to do just a shitty show at every fucking show he had done. I had to do his promos. He would just repeat himself in different ways. The Marlins suck. You know what? The Marlins suck. I think the Marlins suck. You know what, Marlins? You suck. I mean, it was just so bad. I made a promo once where it was just him repeating himself. He thought it was the best promo ever. I made a promo making fun of the fucking twat, and he didn't even get it. And you know what? The reason I was pissed off the whole fucking time, because I was making, I think, $13 an hour, and this guy, I saw his contract, $250,000 for the year. I'm done. Watch Redacted tonight. Jimmy Dore Show, Kim Iverson, Kyle Kalinske, Abby Martin, Corbett Report. Look for yourself. I'm just here to be a fun babbling lecturer. Remember, we're all Neo, a.k.a. One, and sorry ran long, had to bump comedian Joey Coco Diaz. Thanks, Gary. Daddy loves you. Stop looking at me, man.